Okay, so we are going to first look at yWriter6. Now this is the program that's free over on SpaceJock software. You just download it, install it, and you're pretty good to go. There's some extra peripherals you might download to help make it stronger. Like I think there's a dictionary you can download and install if you can figure out how to do that. And there's just other little features you can add in. But this is the 6th version of yWriter. This is the version that includes the mobile integration. So if you do decide that you want to go to Google Play and find yWriter there, I think it's $5 on the Google Play Store. You can swap between the two. I have the free version only on my desktop here, as you can see. And right now I'm experimenting with the program. So I'm actually still learning the thing, but I like what I see so far. But what I want to show you guys is how this is different from Scrivener. So if we look at some of the interface here, it's all pretty straightforward. It's just a bunch of tabs, as you'd expect on any other program, and it's got your windows and click in, blah, blah, blah. What I like about this is it's all based on organization. So you can actually do an outline before you do the writing itself. So if you go into projects and you do apply outline, what you'll do is you'll have a window pops up, and you would just write your outline here or paste it if you have it in a text clip or somewhere. That's actually how I created this list initially, is I just did a test outline for the first 2 chapters. You just have to follow this format in the help, and then you can just simply copy it over, honestly. You can just do this like that, copy, Control C, go into Control V, and then just preview, and it looks like that. See, pretty cool, I think. And then when you're done, you hit OK, but I'm not going to do that because I already have this, so we're not going to do that. So once you actually put your outline in, or if you want, you can create new chapters. Well, actually, we'll show you real quick what that looks like. If you add a new chapter, you can just hit create a new chapter, and then you'll see that it pops up down here. You'll notice that mine says chapter 1 because I had a custom name for these up here. Well, for now, we'll just say it's chapter 3. And we'll fix it another time. But this is where you would write a description. So oops, can't type. In this chapter, crazy stuff will happen. We'll flesh out later. Let's just fix the word will, because again, I can't type. And then hit OK, or actually we'll do the scene summary. I'm going to show you that here in a second. We'll hit OK. And then, like, if I want to actually add some scenes, I can do that here. So we'll say create a new scene, and this is where we go into the scene editor, and then we might write the detail for this. In this scene, crazy stuff really happens. Okay, and we'll hit C, or we can do some tags. Crazy stuff. Okay, and then we'll do the comma to show more crazy stuff. Okay, and then let's save. That way we have something to work with. And then we're going to exit. And then we'll do another add new scene. So create new scene. So this is still within chapter 3. So the details for this are after crazy stuff happens, our hero reflects on those crazy things. Okay, and then we'll save and exit. And so what we're looking at now is we have 2 different scenes here, and you'll see it down here in the bottom. We have the crazy stuff description. The other thing we can do too is if you want to edit, we can right click and edit, select the chapter. And then you'll see that in the scene summaries, it gives you the overview. So I think that's a pretty neat feature. So you can kind of get a glance at what your story is all about and how it's all designed. So I'm going to go back and I want to show you guys what I did for the first chapter. The second one I didn't really do much with, so I'm not going to go with that one. But we'll look at chapter 1, and I'll break that down. So we're going to do that here in a second. So when we click on the first chapter, you can kind of get a sense of what I've been working on. Now again, this is all experimental. I don't know if this is going to become an actual novel, but I admit I kind of like what I've been working on, so I might do this, but I want to just kind of go over some of the things I've established here. So when you do the outline version, or even if you add it by chapter, you can certainly customize what everything's going to say in these little boxes down here. When I initially created this, I was in a different box here. You'll see that there's no content yet because I haven't actually done any of the writing. But if you look at some of the details here, you'll see that we have a viewpoint character. We have, and I have several characters already defined. So we want Bob. He's our main hero, if we can call him a hero. Right now, his opening scene will be his view. I have a description of what the scene's about. So Bob discovers his waterbed is popped and he doesn't believe it's by accident. So it makes him angry. He doesn't think he can afford a new one. Well, why doesn't he not think he can afford a new one? Well, if we look at the characters in this, you'll see what his bio is. This window is the functionality of everything that is useful and necessary to know about your scene. So like any note you've written, I haven't uploaded any picture, but everything that you've established in your story would show up in this section here. So I'm going to look at some of these here and more thoroughly in a minute. The content's still empty because I haven't done any of the writing yet. And we'll do some of that, I think, either in this video or another one. But right now, you can see that really this is useful for organizing all of your stuff. This here, I think you can write extra. I'm not sure. Double-click to edit this information. If we actually double-click it, this is what I was looking for. So this takes us to the character creation menu, which you can also update through this button here. So we'll cancel, and then we're going to actually go through the character version. So if we go to the character and we go to view edit, we can do the same thing. So this is the edit character section, and you can get a sense of who everyone is. So you have short name, that's who it refers to when you look at the characters. Oops. If you look at the characters down here, you can get a sense of the main kind of snapshot version of the character, and then you find out what their whole name is. If you forget, if you're like me and you don't have a strong memory. And what I like about this also is it gives you an overview of who the major and minor characters are. I think that's what these icons are for, if I'm not mistaken. I think something, we'll see. Anyway, going back to the view edit characters. If we actually go into Bob's name, we can go into edit, and then we can open up that same window that I had before. But now I can actually customize what his role is. So it gives me, an opportunity to define who he is. If I had an alternate, if he went by a different name, I think for me, it's more useful to use the alternate for labels. Like for the Megan character you see down here, she's actually the salesperson at the waterbed store. So I just call her by her alternate because it's easier to find. So you can do what you want, but you also have a place for tags. I'm still trying to figure out what the tags are useful for, but I imagine it gives you a chance to do a quick search for, let's say, if you don't remember the name of the person you're looking for, but you remember that he's, say, the coffee barista, and you have the tags coffee barista. I imagine that will probably locate that. I know Scrivener's got a similar system, so this is useful, I think, for that. But again, I'm guessing you have to experiment on your own. But yeah, the short name is what you would look for when you're just doing a quick overview. Full name is what he's actually called. You get a chance to define if he's the major or the minor character. I would say the description, you can do what you want with it. I'm using it to give myself the character details, like what he looks like, what his personal attributes are, and so on. And of course, any issues he's got. And the bio would be his history, and I'm including like job information. But again, you can kind of structure this whatever way you feel is more necessary. This is all experimental. I may end up changing a lot of this as I go on, but if you want to see his bio, you can pause the video and check it out. It's pretty cool. But the notes, this is anything that I haven't really established yet, but I want to remember for the future. So one thing I've recognized is that Bob's a kind of an unlikable character, but I want to try to make him likable through his exploits and his just the crazy stuff he gets himself into and how he gets out of it. I want to make him an entertaining character. The negative traits, the source I'm referencing here, it's actually a very useful book from Helping Writers, I think it is. It's basically, if you look it up, you can get a link to where it's from, but it's a collection of different traits, and they have positive traits, negative traits, and they have descriptions for urban and rural settings, and basically they're the sources that actually give you an opportunity to figure out who your character is. So anyway, so past the notes you have goals. Okay, so Bob wants to live in the present. To do that, he needs better, more stable income. If he lives in the present, he can become less phony, maybe fix his marriage. So the issue that Bob has is he is a computer salesman, but he doesn't make the sale fast enough. The computers are always obsolete by the time he manages to, get the client's attention. So it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but he struggles to pay for anything, and that's the theme that a lot of my characters have. I think because it's personal, kind of the same issues, but he is stuck in the past because that's the only thing he can afford, and his marriage is not in a good place because of that. So part of the conflict that he's got is trying to decide if he wants to even hold on to the marriage, or if he wants to just give up and accept life as it is. So his personality is a little wonky, but we'll see how that goes if I continue the story. But anyway, you get the swap for the picture too, if you have that. And I don't usually use this feature even in Scrivener. I don't care. That's what I have all of this for. But anyway, I'm going to cancel this. I don't want to make any changes yet. So the other things we have is locations. You can decide where things are, or where important scenes take place. You can give a quick description on what they look like, or what their function is in the story. And then you have items, if you have MacGuffins, or if you have anything that's going to be important in the scene. This is useful if you need an item to show up later in the story. One of the things about fiction writing is you need to set up foreshadowing, just things that will happen later. Often items are used for that purpose, so if you have an important item, you can certainly reference it. So in my story, my alleged story, and nothing's written yet, the conflict is questioning whether or not the waterbed popped on its own, because it's an old bed, and when Bob wakes up he's floating in it, or was it popped deliberately? And of course this is where the conflict comes, when he has to confront his wife on what happened. The other thing is, because he's so poor, he only owns one piece of outdoor equipment, and that's his hedge clippers. He doesn't have a shed. He only has a garage, and the garage isn't set up yet for containing yard equipment. So he keeps the hedge clippers in his closet. And so the theory so far is that the wife used the hedge clippers to pop the bed. Spoiler alert. That's what I'm working with. But the question is, how is this stuff going to be related to later? There's a lot of things you need to work out, and that's part of why this software is useful for outlines in the more detailed sense. You can actually have an overview of how not just scenes work together, but how items work together and how the locations work together. And the other thing that's really cool is that you can keep track of a number of specific details. So when we open the scene, we'll actually go into the scene editing section and edit selected scene, and we go into the main window where we can do all of our typing. We'll just say the waterbed sprung a leak, and Bob actually, usually you want to start your story with a strong hook, so I wouldn't say with something like that. Let's see, when Bob awoke, we'll call it Friday morning, let's see, end of the week. Woke Friday morning, he did not expect to have to swim out of bed. Okay, there you go. There's your hook. So we'll save that. So now we have up here, it's cataloged how many words we've got. So now we're in the running. Now we're up and going in this thing. And so like I said, we have all the details here. If I wanted to change the viewpoint character, I could do that. I'm not going to, because it is Bob's scene. Generally with scenes, every scene should have its own little unit of conflict and action. So really what's going to happen in this scene is he's going to try to figure out what just happened. And then we'll eventually, in the waterbed argument, we'll go and have the scene where he's confronting his wife on it. So, and then of course we just have a list of who's in it. It's just him by himself, where it's inside the house. I didn't do specific locations like bedroom, bathroom, living room, anything like that yet, because I'm not sure I'm going to need to, but I might. I would certainly advocate for using rooms as Scenes, if it's like a small location. For example, there's a book I read earlier this year that I thought was amazing called The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stu Turton, or Stuart Turton, however you want to pronounce it. But it's not the kind of story that takes place in a lot of places. It's mainly a house and an estate, so you'd have to focus on the rooms. So a story like that, I would certainly say, go for the details. But I don't think this story is going to have that issue yet. But I'll figure it out as I outline, because that's what I'm doing first, is outlining. But anyway, yes, all you do is if you want something to be in the scene, let's say if I wanted to have yesterday's best in here, I would just drag it over, and then it's part of the scene. But I don't want that, so I'm going to drag it back. And then there you go. And then the waterbed that's in the scene is the item that's in the bed is the waterbed, so I do the same thing. Then any notes I have on it. So in this scene, I want it to be short and sweet, opening with Bob gasping for air. I didn't actually start that. I had him swimming, so that's kind of the same. Sets up immediate question, what happened to the bed. Sets up the larger question, is it accidentally or deliberately popped. Sets up the story question, is it a wake-up call to a better life or attempted murder. So these are the things that might come up in the in the reader's mind once the scene is fleshed out. That would certainly be my goal. So what I would do in this notes section is try to make sure this scene somehow answers one of these questions or produces the need for these questions. Again, I don't have pictures as I don't care. Now in the goal section, this is interesting. So you can set this up for action or reaction. So K.M. Weiland, who I referenced earlier in the video, has a section in Structure, the novel, about scenes and sequels. And I believe it's adapted from other writers that the book uses for research. But the idea of the scene and the sequel is the scene is your action and your sequel is your reaction or your reflection. So if you have a big event happening, that would be your action scene, and then the sequel would be, what does it mean? Like, it's where the characters stop and reflect, like, why did this matter? And you need that not only to slow the story down enough to catch your breath, but also to add the significance to why any of it matters. So what I like about this program is it gives you a chance to, it reminds you, do you need action or reaction? So in this one, it's going to be action, because he's trying to get out of a leaking waterbed. And water, if you ever laid in a waterbed, it's already hard enough to get out of a waterbed when it's in full tact form. When the thing is like leaking and slowly deflating, it becomes more complicated. So I would call that an action scene. I would say maybe the next scene will probably be action also, because it's where he has to confront his wife. But the one that follows, where he's going to try to do something about it, I would maybe call that the reaction. So we'll do that real quick. We'll save and exit, and then we're going to go into Overruled. And we're going to edit that scene, and we're going to call, this will be the reaction. Okay. Oh, it actually changes. Okay. Never mind. I'll have to go back and fix that. So, as you can see, I didn't preview that much before the video. But, as you can see, it's all very thorough. It's pretty cool, I think. The other thing I like about this is, going back to the scene here, when you go into like the time and rating section, you can actually show how long the scene is supposed to last. So it's going to be day one, on scene one. Day one, hour 0, minute 0. Okay, and then, or let's see, what do we have here? Oh, no. I don't really have a time specifically in mind, so we're just going to do it by this. The scene lasts for 0 days, 0 hours. We'll say 5 minutes. Okay, so my goal is to make the scene in the reader's mind last 5 minutes. Obviously, this doesn't affect reader speed. If I were to do like a montage, it might be a week. But this is great because it keeps track of where you are. So when I save it, okay, now you'll see my date and time is updated a bit. Okay, that's cool, I think. So if I ever need to check to see if any of it makes sense, then I can compare that to other scenes. And then the ratings, you rate according to how relevant, tense, and all that. So I think this is more subjective. I'm not sure quite how I would label this. Probably because I don't have anything written yet, I wouldn't rate it anyway. I would wait until after the scene's done before I start marking all of this stuff. But I don't have a scene yet, so I can't do that. So what I may do is, for the next piece, I may go ahead and write out the scene, and then we're going to go over to Scrivener and look at how the two compare. So that's yWriter6 in a nutshell. There's certainly more to discover, I'm sure, but it's free, so may as well go check it out. Thanks for watching. Bye.